let's go through position groups and discuss who stays, who goes, who we think will go, who we think stays. I think it's very safe to say at quarterback. We'll start there, I guess. So we'll start at quarterback. We'll kind of work our way across the offense and defense. We'll start with quarterback. Dan Campbell said today that, and I liked a couple of little nuggets he threw in there. Just a couple nuggets. You watch Boone?
Sprinkles.
Hey, I listen. I when Dan Campbell speaks, I mute everything in my life and I listen. So yes, I did watch.
So I like, you know what I liked? Hey, Klotzy. Hey,
well,
you know what I like?
Talk to me, Jeff.
So this is what he said. All right. So he's talking about the quarterbacks. He said, I wasn't a huge fan. He's comfortable with the quarterback room. We kind of know that, at this point, Nate Sudfeld being the backup, not ideal. Didn't play in the last preseason game. It's not the here or nor there. He did say Jake Fromm, he could play a little bit. He did say
the boy can ball.
He said he could play a little ball now. That's what he said. He could play a little ball now. But what he did say is they asked him, and I forgot who it was, and I'd love to give credit. That's on me. But they asked him, would you be comfortable if Jared were to go down, let's say, hypothetically, knock on wood, week 1? Would you be comfortable with who's in there? He said, well, yes, because you have to rely on 3 phases of the game anyway. And he did say in that, the doc, by the way, if it was the doc, and Ryan, thank you for that. Shout out to the doc. Don't tell him I forgot that, by the way. Don't bring it up Wednesday. But he did say that a quarterback could finish the game and a different quarterback could start the next week. I need to repeat. You hear what I'm saying? A quarterback could finish the game and a different quarterback could start next week, because then you'd have to game plan for that said quarterback. The only quarterback I know that they have to game plan for specifically, change the offense a little bit, would be one Hendon Hooker. So I'm thinking, at least from that, I'm like, okay. But hey, I'm not saying he's proclaimed him as the backup. All I'm saying is the backup position, we'll see how it goes. I still like Hendon Hooker. We already had that discussion. I think at this point, boys, and I'll just get this out the way, Jake Fromm, I think he's cut, and they keep the 3 guys they had. I think they keep Jared, Sudfeld, and Hendon, unless someone gets cut. That's an immediate upgrade. We already talked about Bailey Zappi and all those guys. I think that quarterback would replace Sudfeld. But the way he was talking up Sudfeld, he did say he's been in the offense for 3 years. He knows the playbook. It was tough. But that's what I think happens. Fromm out the door, maybe on the practice squad, who knows? But they keep the 3 guys they had, unless there's an immediate upgrade. That's what I'll go.
Klotzy?
Listen, Jared Goff, quarterback 1. Hendon Hooker, quarterback 2. There's no discussion. That boy Fromm looked like he was taking your mama to prom on Saturday night. He was dropping dots. He's without a doubt, better than Nate Sudfeld. So if you're asking me, I think there's a chance that both these guys get waived at the bare minimum. I don't think Nate Sudfeld's spot is locked up whatsoever. And if you guys are both going to say Sudfeld, I'll be happily the one to say Jake Fromm, because I do not want to see another snap of Nate Sudfeld on the field. At least Jake Fromm knew how to get the ball down the field. He would have had a touchdown, but he couldn't. But who is it? Jake Funk? The Fromm to Funk connection was buzzing all the way down to the 25-yard line. He dropped a wheel right in between his paws, and he couldn't catch it. So Jake Fromm showed me more than Nate Sudfeld has the past 2 years. So I don't care if it's your quarterback 3. I don't care if he knows the playbook. Jake Fromm, a guy that won at Georgia. Nate Sudfeld won where? Oh, nowhere. Who has more intangible skill? You can't really decide. So give me the guy that looked better this offseason. I don't care if it's in one game, because Nate Sudfeld looked ass in training camp and preseason. You have no argument to stand on besides he knows the playbook. Give Jake Fromm 6 months. He'll know the playbook, and that's all I'm worried about. And you can send them both to waivers and put fucking Sudfeld on your practice squad if he knows the playbook so well that he can teach it to every player on the fucking team. But I don't care. Get Nate Sudfeld off. I'm done looking at him. Give me Jake Fromm.
I'm done looking at him. I like. Hey.
Yeah.
I like.
How about that? I don't know. Hey, I'm. You can't
get him out of my sights.
You can't disagree with anything that Klotzy says. As much as Klotzy's going to be wrong, which I hate it because it's not wrong.
Go ahead,
I mean, no. Like, I hate that you're going to be wrong because Fromm's going to probably be in the next 24 hours cut from this team. He'll probably be on the practice squad, though, to be honest. I think Fromm will be on the practice squad. But, Nate, that means you're essentially rolling with a 4 quarterback kind of role there. And I don't – like, if they cut Shane Zylstra to keep 4 quarterbacks so they can have 3 on the active roster and Fromm on the practice squad, that's kind of a problem to me. Like, that's an issue. I do have the video here, fellas, and you guys are going to come on screen here. I have the video here of Dan Campbell talking. Just so we have it in context here of what Dan was saying, because the way, and if you guys don't watch Dan Campbell press conferences, again, this guy tells the truth, and the way he speaks, like, I feel like it's hard for Dan Campbell to hide emotion sometimes. You know what I mean? Like the way he talks about some players, like when he was talking about DPJ, you could tell he was a little like man, like, yeah, like he was like, I wanted him to work out so bad. Like he didn't obviously say it because they didn't announce it, but like after they announce it and you go back and listen, you're like, oh man, like you could tell a little bit with DPJ, like he wanted that thing to work out.
I feel you, man. I feel you on that.
Yeah. So we'll play the Dan Campbell thing here. This is him. It's like a minute long just on the quarterback situation.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, I would love to say we're targeting that. We're just going to take it as it comes. We'd always said long term that we were kind of shooting for Tampa.
Oh, this is DJ Reader. Hold on.
And see.
Oh,
quarterback. Here it is. I thought it.
Is it safe to say then today that Nate still
shout out to Doc.
Yeah, I mean, I think they.
That was
It's hard to answer that because there again, they both bring something different, you know, and you could easily say one of them gets you out of the game and another one is the other one starts for you if something happened the next week. And, you know, so, I mean, you're going to use all those guys, I guess is the best way to say it. So.
Hey, well,
Nate Sudfeld would definitely be the guy that would just go out there and start for you. He would be the guy that would start for you.
Yeah, he would start his career in coaching. That's what he should start.
I don't know how to take that because Dan was like, he was like, is Nate Sudfeld still number 2? And just right away he's like, yeah. And you're like, oh no, please no. Like why? That's just like weird, like initial reaction for Dan. It's just it's weird to me. It feels like Nate's like their son that they don't want to give up on. They're like, you got this, son. Like we have a better kid coming up. Like the younger brother is better at every sport, but we just want to support that older son until like we want to hang on to it. And like that's what it feels like with Nate Sudfeld, where they're just like hanging on. I don't know. Like the Hooker thing. He just needs to develop. Like I just like. They're obviously not going to go get a different quarterback. Like Klotz and I were saying, like get rid of Sudfeld and Fromm and just go get another quarterback and roll with that. Like obviously you can upgrade your room. Like that room could be upgraded so fast if you wanted it to. And it's like they're refusing to do it, and they like what they have. And if you have to, and maybe this is just me, if you don't think Hooker's that ready, and again, like I wrote in my notes today because I just wanted people to be very clear on this. Jeff and I talked about this on the weekend too a little bit. Hendon Hooker's ceiling is unbelievable. Like this kid is going to be very, very good in the league. Like what he did on Saturday, running the ball, and like Dan said, like he wasn't forcing runs. He was just playing quarterback, and he ended up running for 90-something yards. Like unbelievable. But for him to do that, like Hendon Hooker's going to have a great career, and whether it's to being the backup for the Lions or moving on and when taking over for Jared Goff in 3 or 4 years, whatever it is, he's going to be very successful. But if you're answering questions and saying we might have to run 2 quarterbacks out there for the back, you don't have a great quarterback room, in my opinion. Like Sudfeld isn't it. And obviously they don't think Hooker's ready. So like you're having to run Nate Sudfeld out there with Hendon Hooker back. Like, what are we doing at that point? You're a Super Bowl contending team. Like if you don't think that either guy is ready and you're going to run both of them and you can just go get someone, upgrade the room, do what you did with Teddy last year. But like either have faith in Hendon Hooker and go all in on that as your backup, or go get someone. But don't sit here and say you're going to run 2 quarterbacks with Hendon Hooker and Nate Sudfeld. Like, what are we doing? That's my only problem. I feel like that's my only problem.
Well, the one point I will add is I understand the experience part of it. Like you want a quarterback in the room that has experience, but I don't know if it's Sudfeld. That's my point. Maybe it's someone else, but maybe the guy who's been in the offense for longer can kind of mentor Hendon. I don't know how they look at it, but whatever. I get having one guy that has experience. We'll see maybe if a guy that has experience gets released in the next couple of days. We'll move on, though, to the next position group. Running backs, I think they keep 4. Very simple. I think they keep 4. Craig, Vaki, everyone else, practice squad or cut.
Besides RIP to Jake Funk.
It might be the end of the Jake Funk era.
Practice squad.
Punk the funk, man. Can't punk the funk.
And yeah, in this case, they're going to punk the funk. That's how.
Hey, would you rather have Jake Funk or Jamar Jefferson in the practice squad?
Jamar Jefferson. It's not even close.
I think he
could be an RB3 on any given team. I don't understand. Like, I'm happy. Like, great days with the Lions. I don't understand what he does staying with the Lions. Like, Jamar Jefferson is like a solid NFL running back. He's
gonna get picked up somewhere. He's gonna get cut and then picked up.
Yeah,
like
probably.
The Giants. Jamar Jefferson would be fine for the Giants. Got Devin Singletary, Eric Gray, and Tyrone Tracy Jr. Jamar Jefferson could make the cut there.
Wait, Tyrone Tracy Jr.?
Yeah. Remember the name, Hefe.
I will. Those are my 4 guys. I mean, any disagree? I mean, we all agree. We don't have to spend time.
Yeah,
on that
I think that's locked in.
Wide receiver, we kind of already talked about it. I mean, we kind of agree. It's who they have now, probably. We'll see with Darius Fountain. I still don't know whether he stays or goes. I don't know. I'm not going to speak like we have confirmation. We don't, and we think they'll add someone. So we already kind of spent time on that. So tight end, we did talk about already. I think they might like Parker. You already mentioned that, Boone. They probably like Parker a lot. He's probably going to be a part of that tight end group. They cut Shane Zylstra. Probably a close battle. We kind of have our answer there. Offensive line, I think the only guys, I mean, they're probably going to cut. They're going to cut those. Yeah, they're going to cut most of those guys that they had. I mean, they'll have some. They'll have Colby, Colby, Gio, guys that they have. Coyote.
Those are the only Skip. Those are the only 4 depth pieces. 5, I guess. You have Skipper, Sorsdahl, Manu, Zeitler, and Yodi.
Yeah.
So
besides the starters, obviously, but yeah. Any disagreements there? I think we all.
No, I think we know. I don't think there's going to be like a surprise.
So the real one, guys, is defensive line. I mean, that's the big. That's like the meat and potatoes of this conversation. I say you meat and potatoes a lot, but it applies to this right now. They haven't really cut anyone. I mean, Mitchell Agude was cut, but he's playing Sam. But you haven't heard any news yet. I haven't heard anything about.
Yep.
Or you haven't, Boone. We know that for a fact. Matthew Betts, Isaac Ukwu.
Hang in there, Boone.
They're all hanging in there. I mean, my pizza's on the line here. At least 2 pizzas. One, but we'll see.
To be honest, I think I have a pretty good chance to win one of those. I think we're gonna each have to buy each other pizza. Like, I think right now, I think James Houston is in. And what's crazy, like the Dan Campbell comments. Did you guys hear that after the game? We didn't really talk about it at all, but the Dan Campbell comments after the game of being like, we have a really tough choice when it comes to James Houston. I was shocked to hear that because like Klotz and I, before the game, we were talking about it on Saturday. It was that we thought James Houston, all he had to do was go out there and perform. Like we knew what he did in the past. The only reason that I personally ever questioned James Houston this offseason is just because we haven't seen it since 2022. Like that was it. It was just like, hey, we haven't seen it. So he goes out there Saturday. He does what we've been waiting for him to do. All right. He's good. Like that's old James Houston again. He was the highest graded PFF player on the entire Detroit Lions on Saturday. He had the most pressures. He had a sack. He didn't miss any tackles. Like he did everything he was supposed to do. So then after the game, you hear Dan Campbell being like, yeah, we're going to have a really tough decision when it comes to James Houston. And I think the reason behind that is because he can't play Sam. Like they're looking for a little guy that's versatile. And like that's where I think like a guy potentially like Ukwu, who maybe can do that ends up stepping into that spot. And you maybe keep Ukwu and you keep James Houston. But the Betts thing I think is the most, like, since we haven't heard anything about this defense line outside of Agude, that's where earlier today I was like, imagine if they end up keeping all 3 because you need more depth there.